Most people ruin their power in the first sentence they speak. They rush to explain who they are, why they did something, why they didn't respond, why they changed, why they stayed quiet, and without realizing it, they hand over control. Here's a truth most people never hear. The more you explain yourself, the less people respect you. Not because you're wrong, but because confidence doesn't need permission. Think about this for a moment. When someone is truly strong, do they argue to be understood? Or do they move forward and let time do the talking? The Stoics believed that real authority is silent. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he reminded himself to stay quiet, focused and unmoved by opinion. Epictetus taught that the moment you crave approval, you become a slave to it. In today's world, everyone demands an explanation. Social media, workplaces, even family. Why did you leave that job? Why aren't you replying? Why don't you think like us anymore? And every explanation pulls you further away from your center. Stoicism offers a different path. You don't owe clarity to people who haven't earned access to your life. At Stoic Silence, we talk about the power of restraint, not noise. Because silence isn't weakness. Silence is control. Silence is choosing peace over ego. If this message already feels uncomfortable, that's a good sign. It means you're hearing something real. Take a second right now to like this video and subscribe to the channel. This space is for people who are done performing and ready to live with intention. Now let me tell you why explaining yourself feels so necessary, and why letting go of that habit will change how people see you forever. Most explanations are born from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of being left behind. But the Stoics understood something powerful. You cannot control how people interpret your actions, and trying to do so only drains your strength. The calmer you become, the louder your presence feels. When you stop explaining yourself, something interesting happens. People either respect you or they reveal their insecurity. And either way, you gain clarity. This is where the real shift begins. When you stop explaining yourself, the world doesn't get quieter, it gets louder. People notice the silence. They feel it, and many won't like it. That's because silence removes their ability to control the narrative. When you don't defend your choices, others are forced to sit with their assumptions. The Stoics warned about this. They knew most people speak not to communicate, but to protect their ego. Every unnecessary explanation is a signal that you're still seeking validation. Epictetus said that if you want freedom, you must stop depending on the opinions of others. That freedom begins the moment you choose restraint over reaction. Think about how often you explain yourself to people who don't really care. Coworkers who are curious, not supportive. Friends who question your growth. Family members who want the old version of you back. Each explanation becomes a negotiation for approval, and over time you train people to expect access to your decisions. Stoicism teaches a harsher but more peaceful rule. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people only deserve distance. When you explain less, you protect your energy, and protected energy turns into focus. Focus changes everything. When your mind isn't busy defending itself, it starts building. Your routines become sharper, your discipline gets quieter, and your progress becomes harder to ignore. This is why Stoics valued action over words. Action cannot be debated. Action does not need justification. At Stoic Silence, we remind ourselves that silence is not avoidance. It is choice. You are choosing to let results speak instead of emotions. You are choosing dignity over drama. There's also something else that happens when you stop explaining. You start trusting yourself more. You no longer need outside agreement to move forward. Your confidence becomes internal, not borrowed. And once your confidence is internal, people feel it. They may not understand you, but they will sense your certainty, and certainty is magnetic. In the next part, we'll talk about why silence makes some people uncomfortable, and how that discomfort actually works in your favor. Here's the part most people struggle to accept. When you stop explaining yourself, some people will react. They'll question your choices. They'll whisper behind your back. They'll try to pull you back into the chaos of their expectations. This is uncomfortable, and it's meant to be, because your silence exposes them. Your calm reveals their noise. Your discipline shines a light on their weakness, and that can feel threatening. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this kind of discomfort. He reminded himself that the world will always try to impose its confusion on you, that it will never stop asking why until you stop giving why. The moment you stop defending yourself, you remove the leash they hold over your mind. Suddenly, their questions become their burden, not yours. Let's be honest, explaining yourself is exhausting. Every word, every justification, every story you tell to make people understand, it drains focus and patience. When you let go of that habit, something incredible happens. Your energy becomes yours again. Your decisions become yours again. Your time becomes yours again. And that's when you truly start to grow. At Stoic Silence, we believe in using this energy wisely. Instead of justifying your actions, channel it into creating results that cannot be ignored. Show up every day, do the work, master your craft, and let your life demonstrate your principles. Results are louder than arguments. Consistency speaks where words fail. And over time, even the loudest critics have no choice but to notice. You may feel pressure to explain yourself out of kindness, out of loyalty, out of fear of being misunderstood. Stoicism doesn't demand cruelty. It demands clarity. Clarity about what is yours to control and what isn't. People may never fully understand you. They may never approve of your choices, but that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live in alignment with your values and let the world interpret as it will. And here's the paradox. The quieter you become, the more weight your presence carries. People start to measure your words because they know they are deliberate. People watch your actions more closely because they know you do not speak lightly. You stop participating in unnecessary arguments, and instead, your life begins to argue for you. In the next part, we'll dive into how this discipline creates unshakable confidence, and why letting go of explanations is not withdrawal, it's strategic strength. Stopping explanations doesn't mean becoming distant or uncaring. It doesn't mean ignoring the world or turning cold. In fact, Stoicism teaches the opposite. Silence is not absence. It's deliberate presence. It's choosing where your energy goes and refusing to waste it on unnecessary approval. When you explain yourself too much, you're letting others dictate your narrative. You are giving them control over your time, your emotions, even your self-worth. That's the trap most people never notice. They defend, clarify, justify, and in doing so, surrender the one thing no one can take from them, their inner calm. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed." Don't explain, just act. That simple truth still resonates today. By acting without explanation, you protect your focus. You protect your energy. You protect your progress. And the results? They speak louder than any words ever could. At Stoic Silence, we emphasize this principle constantly. You don't owe anyone a rationale for pursuing your goals, for saying no, or for simply existing on your own terms. People may push, they may question, they may project their expectations onto you, but silence and action combined create a presence that cannot be ignored. Consider this. Every time you explain yourself unnecessarily, you are essentially negotiating for understanding. You are asking permission to exist on your terms. But what if you simply didn't ask? What if you acted without explanation, letting your life tell the story instead? The results become undeniable. The critics quiet down, the doubters fade away, and the respect you earn is real because it was never demanded. And here's another truth. When you stop explaining, you stop carrying other people's insecurities. Their judgments, their fears, their confusion, they no longer become your burden. Your mind becomes uncluttered. Your decisions become clearer. Your confidence becomes unshakable. The world will try to pull you back into the habit. People will push. They will demand answers. But the Stoic stays grounded. They act with purpose and let the rest unfold. Their silence is strategic. Their restraint is strength. And their life, measured in consistent actions, becomes the loudest argument of all. In the next part, we'll explore how letting go of explanations transforms relationships, filters out the wrong people, and reveals the allies who truly belong in your life. Here's one of the hardest truths about stopping explanations. Some people will leave. Some will pull away. Some will accuse you of changing, and that's okay. Stoicism teaches that not everyone belongs in every chapter of your life. Growth is quiet. Transformation doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't send announcements. It just happens. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It doesn't explain why. It doesn't argue that it's natural. It simply leaves the old behind and moves forward. Your life works the same way. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to shed the expectations, judgments, and insecurities of others, and in that space, real progress becomes possible. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that it is better to be misunderstood than to be dependent on approval. Epictetus said that seeking validation is the surest way to unhappiness. By constantly explaining, we train people to expect access to our lives, our energy, and our peace. By choosing silence, we reclaim it. At Stoic Silence, we encourage this practice not as isolation, but as clarity. Silence is a filter. It removes distractions. It shows you who truly respects your journey and who only wanted to control it. People who leave because they cannot understand your choices were never meant to stay. And the people who remain, they are your allies, your tribe, the ones who quietly support, observe, and respect your path. This discipline also builds confidence unlike any other. When you stop explaining, you start trusting yourself more. You rely less on external approval and more on internal certainty. You act because you know it is right, not because you need others to understand. And that self-reliance is magnetic. People may not always understand you, but they will feel your consistency, your focus, your unshakable calm. Every word you no longer waste on unnecessary explanations becomes energy invested in your growth, your discipline, and your mastery. And that's the essence of Stoic power. Real strength is quiet. Real influence is subtle. Real respect is earned, not negotiated. In the next part, we'll bring it all together and show how letting your actions speak can make your life unshakable, undeniable, and truly your own. Now it all comes together. When you stop explaining yourself, something remarkable happens. Your life begins to speak for you. Every choice, every habit, every action becomes louder than words ever could. The world may still question you, may still doubt you, may still whisper, but none of that matters, because your results are undeniable. Stoicism teaches that real power is measured in patience and consistency, not noise and justification. Marcus Aurelius ruled quietly, lived intentionally, and accepted that most people would never fully understand him. Epictetus reminded us that freedom comes from within, and that seeking external approval is a trap. When you live by these principles, explanations become unnecessary. Your life becomes its own argument. At Stoic Silence, we embrace this every day. We choose our energy carefully. We act deliberately. We let results, not excuses, define our character. And as a result, our influence grows silently but powerfully. People notice without being prompted. Opportunities come without being chased. Respect is earned naturally, not demanded. This doesn't mean you stop communicating entirely. It means you speak only when it matters. You act only when it matters. And you let your calm, your consistency, and your discipline create impact far beyond what words could achieve. The quieter you become, the stronger your presence. The fewer explanations you give, the more weight your actions carry. So here's the challenge. Start today. Stop over-explaining. Stop negotiating your worth. Stop defending your choices to people who don't see the bigger picture. Focus on your actions. Focus on your discipline. Focus on becoming undeniable. And when you feel the urge to explain, pause. Let the silence speak. Let your actions show who you are. Let the world interpret as it will. This is the path of quiet strength, and the path that leads to freedom, respect, and true confidence. If this message resonated with you, do something simple but powerful. Leave a comment below with one word that describes the life you are building. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it but hasn't yet. And remember to live deliberately, act consistently, and let your life speak louder than any explanation ever could.